All right, it is the best month of the year. It is March. I'm Jake. That's Will, and this is Statletics Hoop. Will, how are we feeling about being in March and finally getting here after Selection Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, best 2 days of the year upcoming, best 4 days of the year, really, just nonstop games. This is my favorite weekend of the whole tournament. I like this weekend even better than Final Four weekend just because it's nonstop action. One thing we don't talk about enough, though, is the gap between Selection Sunday and the first round of games on Thursday. I know we have the playing games tomorrow and Wednesday, but I mean, I already have I think 5 or 6 bets down for Thursday, and I'm just holding on to the bracket, just staring at it, just waiting for something to happen, and just gonna have to wait. So I feel great, but this little gap in the action is really grueling.
Yeah, I just placed one while I was waiting for you to get on the pod. That's kind of where we are. But I mean, can't wait. Ecstatic. Every day that goes by is just the slowest day ever until we finally get to Thursday. So, but tonight we will be going through by region, dissecting each of these regions and looking at first round locks as far as picks, first round upsets, sleeper teams, must watch games, and the pick to win the region. And we'll go ahead and start it off with the East region, UConn's region. What's your first round lock?
Yeah, I like the Fighting Illini to cover 11.5 against Morehead State. I know the public is, kind of watching Morehead State as potential upset. I just think coming off the Big Ten Tournament Championship that Illinois is rolling. I think they can make a really deep run, possibly a Final Four. I probably would have them in the Final Four if they weren't in UConn's region. It's unfortunate for them, but I think Illinois takes care of business and wins by, potentially even 20. I think probably at least 15.
Ooh, 15. Morehead State's a very good team.
But when you have a point guard who's going to be a lottery pick in Terrence Shannon Jr., it just is such a game changer.
It transforms it
in March Madness.
And they have good spacing. They shoot the ball well. They rebound well. And they have big men that can shoot it too. I think that's a very underrated aspect of their offense. The fact that they don't allow defenders to just get sucked in and stay in help side the entire time. It opens up so many driving lanes for them. I don't hate it. My lock of the East is UAB plus 7.5. I loved what I saw from them in their conference tournament, and they were just fun to watch. Pretty an electric team. I think that their matchup against the San Diego State team that lost a lot from last year, I know you're high on San Diego State, but I think that the matchup favors UAB, and I think they're getting hot at the right time. I think 7.5 is a big number.
Yeah, I just think – I see where you're coming from, but I think the public is also going to be big on UAB, so that's one thing. And then also just the level of competition that they played all year through conference play. The Mountain West, a 6-bid conference. Nobody saw that coming, especially with the Big East only getting 3. But yeah, what conference is UAB in? The American, I think, in there with Memphis. It's just been so erratic, and I just think the consistency and talent level will shine through. But I see where it's coming from, and it could definitely happen.
All right. We will move on to first-round upsets. I think that mine kind of goes without saying. I like UAB to win. I like them to cover. But, Will, I know you don't like much in this side, but if you had to pick one, who would you pick as an upset?
Yeah, the East has 4 conference champions, I think, or 4 of the Power 5 conference champion winners, I should say. They have more than 4 conference tournament winners. But UConn won the Big East tournament. Iowa State won the Big 12 tournament. Illinois won the Big 10. And Auburn obviously won the SEC. I think these higher-seeded teams in the East are going to take care of business. If I had to pick one, just like for fun, it would be Yale, just because I think they have a guard who has the ultimate green light, shooting 30, 35-foot threes, little college Steph Curry. So I think that would be fun if, he became a March Madness legend. So I'll go with that. But again, I don't really honestly like any of the upsets.
I don't hate that. and we'll get into it in a second. But I don't hate that Yale pick as a sleeper team. Um, I think that BYU as a 6 seed is doing them a little bit injustice, as well as they shoot the ball and as well as they rebound the ball. They're a team that shoots more threes by percentage of field goals than anyone in their conference, and I think they're pretty high up there in the NCAA. If they get hot, they can beat anyone, and I think they proved that throughout the course of the season in the Big 12. I like the Cougars. They seem to space it. They all seem to be able to shoot. They all seem to know their role. They just seem like a team that's built for March, especially if they can rebound on one of those nights that they can't shoot as well.
Yeah, I actually fully agree with you on this one. So first one, we're on the same page. But just for fun, I'll say somebody else. I'll go with San Diego State, just for the same reasons I mentioned earlier. Um, the Mountain West getting 6 bids is just really speaking to me and saying that, hey, maybe as a whole, their conference is underrated. If San Diego State finished comfortably at the top of that conference in the regular season, obviously fell short to New Mexico in the tournament championship, but I just think they played well against good teams all year, and tough teams like that always seem to find a way to make a little run in March.
Building off that, what's your must-watch game in this region?
We haven't mentioned it yet. Florida Atlantic Northwestern, the 8-9 game, just because I think literally anything could happen. Actually, I don't know about a Northwestern blowout, but Northwestern could win handedly. I think Northwestern has a couple guys who are banged up, but you just never know what version of Florida Atlantic you're going to get. So honestly, I envision this one being pretty close.
My must-watch game is Auburn and Yale, and you touched on Yale as a team that could upset Auburn potentially. I think it could happen. Yale is one of the slowest-paced teams in the NCAA, and Auburn plays like Auburn, super fast, up and down a lot. And whenever you see two differing styles, anything can happen in March. I think it'll be fun to watch, to just see that. I think it'll be close just because of how slow Yale plays. So if they can hit some big shots down the stretch, as an Auburn fan, I would not be comfortable. But as a Yale fan, it's kind of like watching Virginia, but it's like watching Virginia play against an extremely fast team that can actually shoot the ball a little bit. A more exciting Virginia per se. But it'll be a fun game to watch. I like Auburn and Yale as a matchup. With that, my personal pick to win the region, and I don't really know how you can go against it, is UConn. They haven't done anything to prove different. All of the other 1Cs go and lose their conference championship. They just chug right along and win it. And they've just been winning all season. Those boys, even when they're up 20 and they mess up, they get an earful from Hurley, and they're so mad. It's the emotion that they bring to the game. They're built for March, and I think that the level that they held each other accountable to throughout the season will kind of show.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you on that. Do you want to throw a flag, though, because Houston did not win their conference tournament.
No, I'm saying
Iowa State did.
All of the 1 seeds lost their conference tournament.
Oh, they all other lost. Okay.
Yeah,
no, I'm sorry.
Except for UConn.
That was my bad. That was me being stupid, trying to correct you. But yeah, I mean, I agree with everything you said. They're definitely the most complete team in the country. It's really tough to not pick them. But just for fun, just because I believe the last 5 years or sometime period like that, the number 1 overall seed is lost in the Sweet 16, and nobody's gone back-to-back since 06-07 Florida. I don't know who's going to get them, but I'll take Illinois to go to the Final Four from the East.
If anybody can do it, I think it would be either them or Auburn. But either way, Moving on to the South, this is the region that Houston is in if you don't have a bracket in front of you. Some notable games is the Texas A&M game, NC State game, Florida. But we'll go through. My personal first-round lock is Texas A&M to win. Their money line is even odds right now, and I think that they are playing Nebraska. Nebraska can really shoot it, but Texas A&M has really come along at the end of the season. They've kind of proven to be the team that we always thought that they could be. Played hard defense. If they can shoot, then they will beat anybody. It's a team that's extremely physical. They've won some really quality games in the SEC. I love Texas A&M, and Buzz Williams is love him or hate him. He's extremely passionate. I think they'll beat Nebraska, and Nebraska really relies on how well they shoot it. And I think Texas A&M has the athleticism to sort of D them up. So I like the Aggies. Who's your lock?
I honestly hate this pick, but how much I hate it makes me love it. So James Madison, best record in the country. Everybody, that's the 12/5 that everyone is taking. And the spread is still Wisconsin minus 5.5. And it just feels like the ultra rat line. So I'm definitely going to be betting Wisconsin minus 5.5. I don't know enough about JMU's like actual team to say why I think Wisconsin's brand of basketball would lead them to cover, but this one's just solely based on public perception of JMU, and I think Wisconsin is obviously playing good at the right time, upsetting Purdue in the Big Ten tournament, and I think they'll take care of business.
I have to disagree with you there. I mean, James Madison is 31-3. They don't really seem.
Oh yeah,
I know it's against lesser competition, but they don't really seem to have any sort of weakness. I don't know. It seems like they're just poised to beat whoever they play in the first round, especially in March Madness. In Wisconsin, they just haven't been the same team since early January. That's all I can say about them. So I like JMU. I mean,
but
I know.
Here's the thing. I agree with you. That's what I'm saying. And Wisconsin is still a 5.5 point favorite.
Yeah.
So that's just me realizing, Vegas knows this better than me.
Yeah.
And the public is going to drive that way down, I would say.
I mean, I understand what you're saying. It just seems to me like JMU is just poised for an upset win here. But if you're not taking JMU, who are you taking as your first upset?
This one is stupid because everybody in the world is going to take this as well. But I'm going to go with NC State just because I think DJ Burns in the Sweet 16 would be incredible. When they win 5 games in 5 days to win the ACC tournament, they beat Duke, Carolina. Who did they beat in the semifinal?
I think they beat
I don't remember.
Yeah, they beat
but they beat.
No, they didn't beat Pitt.
Duke and North Carolina. Either way, I mean, you got to ride the hot hand at some point, and I'm assuming this one's going to be a loser because it's they've got all this magic built up. It just seems like a flop is in order, but I'm going to ride it until it crashes. NC State is my upset in the what's this one? This is the South.
Yeah, it's the South, but I mean, it just seems like they don't have anybody. They don't have anything left in the tank after what they did. I don't like this pick, but I understand why you do, or would.
And they have that guard. I don't know his name, but he's electric. You know what I'm talking about? The small guy who's really athletic and can shoot it.
I know.
Those up like crazy runners. They're fun. I'm telling you, they're fun. All right.
Moving on to sleeper teams. So I think we both have a pair of SEC teams here. I'll go ahead and state mine is Florida, but I had totally forgotten that that their big guy broke their leg. But Will reminded me of him, and then I started thinking about I still like him. He's not the reason why I ended up taking him. So I just love how fast they play at, and the level of intensity they play under their head coach. I think that it's a very well-oiled machine that's only gotten better as the season's gone down the line. As fast as they play, and if they could shoot it, they play great defense. They have a pretty relatively easy path as far as March goes. They play Boise State at Colorado. Marquette has an injured Tyler Kolek, but I mean, if he's healthy, Marquette should win that game. But if he's not, Florida could definitely win that, and then their first true test would come in the Sweet 16. I could just see them making a run down the stretch.
Yeah, obviously, I like that. I had a plus 2,000 Florida to win the SEC championship ticket. So I am also a believer in Florida. Obviously, I don't know if you saw the gruesome injury was terrible. Definitely hurts to lose a 7-foot starter, but yeah, I don't hate it. I personally, in this spot, I like Texas A&M just because I think they match up really well with Houston. So if A&M is able to beat Nebraska, which I think is honestly like, I feel better about A&M against Houston than I do against Nebraska.
That's fair. I do not, but that's fair.
Yeah, no, I get it, and that's just totally just like a vibe. I don't know. I don't think Houston is a Final Four team, and I think it like if A&M picks up a big win against Nebraska, like they're rolling. I don't know. I can just see it happening.
In a lot of my brackets, I do have Texas A&M knocking off Houston. I will say that. So, but I'll let you move on.
But honestly, like that A&M Nebraska game is the game I'm most excited to watch because, like you mentioned, pretty different play styles, but they can both get hot at any point. Ask Tennessee and Kentucky about A&M. Nobody should want to play them. But you can ask Wisconsin about Nebraska.
That's true.
Same thing.
I think
I'm just really looking forward to watching that one.
My must-watch game is that same NC State Texas Tech game that we talked about. I think that'll just be fun to watch. NC State is hot as they've been, and Texas Tech has been overperforming the entire year up to this point, and they have a great what seems like a great core of guys, good coach. It'll be like slow and steady against the rising star, which is hilarious to me because NC State wouldn't be here without the run that they went on. So that'll be fun. But give me your pick to win the region.
Yeah, I think after Texas A&M beats Houston, then Duke will put out Texas A&M, and then Duke will beat Kentucky in the Elite Eight. Tell me it just wouldn't make sense for like nobody's talking about Duke this year, and they're still really good. Between obviously Flip, Jared McCain, Jeremy Roach, like they haven't performed to expectations. But if Houston gets knocked off, and then Duke has to play two very good SEC teams, I could totally see them winning both games. So yeah, I think the obvious answer here is Houston because they've been so great all year, consistently top 2 or 3 team in the country. But I don't know. I'm just picturing the path for Duke, and I think Coach Shire will find a way to the Final Four in his second year.
I hate that. One, because I don't think that they match up well with either Texas A&M or Houston, which would be the expected competition at that point. I think that I don't want to say they're soft, but they seem a little soft. And Texas A&M and Houston are not soft teams at all. I think they could get big bodied.
That's fair. That's fair.
I'm picking Marquette to win if Tyler Kolek is healthy. I think that is the big asterisk on this pick. If Tyler Kolek's healthy, Shaka Smart and his guys, they seem to just play so well together and always have each other's back. Even with all the injuries that they've had, they've continued to compete. They've put up great fights. They just haven't been there in the big games. But if they get hot with Tyler Kolek in the lineup, I think that they could beat anybody. And they play underrated defense for how small the team is. So I like Marquette.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm with you on this one. I don't know if you remember a couple months ago, I had Marquette as one of my Final Four teams. The if Tyler Kolek plays is a very big if because he's obviously a huge difference maker, probably their best player. One thing I did hear, or I might have seen it in a tweet or something, Shaka hasn't made a Sweet 16 since his VCU days. So that's just something to note. I'm not saying it means anything about this year's Marquette team, but
the man is due.
All right, let's move on to the West. The West is just so confusing, honestly. I have no idea what's going to happen.
Yeah, I think the West is the most fun side of the bracket, to be honest with you. just because you have such high octane offenses with Alabama, Charleston, Clemson can put up big numbers with Joe Girard. Baylor, they can really score. Arizona obviously plays no defense, but they can score as well. And then North Carolina they can be the best team in the nation, or they can be the worst team in the nation. So I mean, if you really look at it, the West is chaos, in my opinion. But if you look at the first round, I think my personal lock is Mississippi State money line, and I think that it all rests on the shoulders of Josh Hubbard. I think that he is built for March. As a person that watches a lot of SEC basketball, watching Josh Hubbard is awesome, and especially that game against Kentucky, wherever him and Reed Shepherd were going at it head to head, just trading impossible-looking three-pointers. I just got flashbacks of all the great performances in March, and it seemed like Josh Hubbard he's primed for a breakout in March and to be a March legend. They also have Tolo Smith and a bunch of other guys, but I do like Mississippi State money line in the first round.
I don't mind that. My first round lock, I like St. Mary's. Obviously, Grand Canyon had a great year. Probably going to be loved by the public on the betting lines again. But, I mean, St. Mary's taking care of business against Gonzaga in the – oh, geez. What conference are they? I can't think of the conference. West Coast. In the West Coast Conference Championship. It's also something to note. These games are in L.A., right?
I believe so. They're out west.
Yeah, so St. Mary's is like close to St. Yeah. They're in California. I know North Carolina plays in LA. I don't, but assuming it's in Los Angeles, St. Mary's, San Francisco. So kind of a home court advantage there. I don't really know how well St. Mary's fans travel. But just I think having to travel not as far is a factor. And I mean, 5.5 points for a team who's played much better competition, similar to both the San Diego State and Wisconsin bets. Just go with the better team who won their conference to take care of business.
Interesting enough, UNC actually plays in Charlotte, although it's the West region. UNC, Mississippi State, Michigan State, and Howard and Wagner both play in Charlotte. They all play in Charlotte. Now, St. Mary's, Grand Canyon, Alabama, and Charleston all go to Spokane, Washington, to play their games. It'll be a long trip for them. And then I just thought that was an interesting note because they're in the West region, but they're playing on the East Coast.
I should have known that.
But yeah, I mean, I don't mind that. I don't know a whole lot about Grand Canyon, but it does seem like a team that public will be on
I don't either.
Heavily. And St. Mary's they've played well all year, so. But moving down the bracket, I think that my first round upset would be Charleston. I know we just mentioned that they're playing in Spokane, Washington, which is some Taylor Swift jet vibes, them driving from Charleston and Alabama to all the way out to Spokane. But if you think about Alabama the past couple weeks, they just haven't been the same team that played earlier in the year. Fast paced, but they don't play any defense. And they just seem to, no matter who they play, they can't stop anybody enough to really break away with a lead. Charleston plays the same amount of up and down pace. They probably play better defense. That's just a shot in the dark because Alabama plays such bad defense. But, I mean, to be honest with you, I think anything could happen in this game. I think Charlotte could pull out a dub in the first round and shock everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate that. To be honest, I see Bama winning by 20 and then losing by 20 type deal, whether that's in the – I think Bama will have one good game where they're like the good Bama. You know how there's a good Bama and the bad Bama? There's been a lot more bad Bama than good Bama recently, but I don't know. It just kind of seems like Charleston might be a team that everybody's up for, and then Bama just tees off on them. I don't know. But Charleston shoots it really well, so, you never know with teams like that. Charleston was also like a favorite sleeper last year, if you don't remember. I don't remember who they played, but I had them in like every bracket, and they lost in the first round. Mine, I wouldn't even call it an upset because I believe they're favored. So tough draw for Clemson, who's a 6 seed, to get 11 seed New Mexico. And like, I feel like if I'm a 6 seed and I'm an underdog in Vegas, I'm pretty upset. You know what I mean? It's like, dang, shouldn't we get somebody who's worse than us if we're 5 seeds better than them? But regardless, um, yeah, that would be my upset. New Mexico over Clemson. New Mexico just obviously coming off a huge win over San Diego State to secure themselves a bid. They wouldn't have gotten in the tournament if they hadn't won that game. So the upset over San Diego State, they're rolling. Clemson, I've tried to like them this year, and I just haven't been able to. I think they have a lot of holes, and now is not the time to be figuring stuff out. They could obviously shoot it really well. If Joe Girard and PJ Hall get hot, who knows? But I like the New Mexico Lobos.
I mean, we'll touch on this at the season recap, but Clemson should not be this bad. But they are. I like your pick. They are. It's mind-boggling. Two different sleeper teams.
Yeah, for our sleepers, this is pretty fun.
Yeah, I'll let you go first.
Yeah, because, we have two teams who play each other in the first round, and I agree with you. My backup sleeper team, my first sleeper team is Michigan State, but my backup was Mississippi State. I think this game is going to be so fun to watch. It's also my game to watch in this region. Yeah, I think whoever wins this game could really go on a run. Obviously, gonna probably have to face North Carolina in the second round. But, I mean, if I'm North Carolina, I'm groaning at having to play either of those teams. So, yeah, I think both the 8 seed and 9 seed MSUs could make a run in the West.
Groaning. Well, Michigan State's going to be groaning after Mississippi State puts on that beating because Michigan State has been struggling as of late. And I know that they have senior guards and they can play well, but they just haven't shown it. And Mississippi State actually has shown some life, and that's where I'm going with this. Mississippi State's obviously my sleeper team. And like I said, Josh Hubbard, Tolu Smith, and the boys, I like them to get it done against Michigan State, and I also could see them pulling the upset against North Carolina.
What about I would counter that with Michigan State also has guards. Tyson Walker and AJ Hogard, who have been there for a decade. And then, Malik Hall is also really good. I mean, Michigan State has dudes.
They've been there a decade.
And that's why they're in the tournament.
But we'll continue.
January, February, Izzo. Okay, moving on. All right, I already did my must-watch game. That's my must-watch game.
I think.
What's yours?
I mean, it's obviously Charleston, Bama. It's going to be such a fun game to watch. Zero defense played. They might score 220 points. Charleston plays so fast-paced. So does Bama. And Bama's, I think a couple weeks ago we read off their last couple totals, and it was just 99, 100, 92, whatever it was. They just continually put up large numbers. But they lose some of them, and they win some of them. So, I mean, just because they put up a number in the 90s doesn't mean that they're going to pull out a dub. I think Charleston can hang on with them. I think it'll be a fun game to watch. But moving on to region winners, I'm picking Arizona. I know we stated on the pod earlier that I thought that they were frauds. I still think they're frauds, but I think they have the best path in the West. And Will, I know you agree. I'll let you expand on that a little bit too.
Yeah, I mean, I can just see it happening that Arizona meets UConn Arizona meets North Carolina in the Elite Eight, and it's the Caleb Love revenge game. Getting a chance to take Arizona to the Final Four in Phoenix, how cool would that be? It's kind of, I kind of want to root for Arizona because of that. It's obviously hard to bet against North Carolina. They have as much talent, as good of a starting five as anybody in the country, I think. But yeah, it just feels like this region is primed for Arizona to make it to Phoenix.
What a story that would be. But as much as I hate picking Arizona, it just seems like them going through Long Beach, the winner of Dayton, Nevada, then Baylor more than likely, Clemson, North Carolina, or New Mexico, or Colgate on that side. I just think they have a really good path. So that would be so much fun to watch UNC Arizona. That'd be a fun game. Moving on to the Midwest, we're looking at the region with Purdue as the 1 seed, and Will, hit me with your first round lock.
I like Kansas minus 7.5. You can still get it at 7.5 right now, so get it while you can. I'm guessing that line is going to change when it's announced that Kevin McCullough and Hunter Dickinson are playing. Probably we'll get into the double digits if I had to guess. But yeah, as you know, I have not been a believer in the Kansas Jayhawks all year. But as they have done quite a bit this year, they take care of business against bad teams, which is kind of why they tricked us into thinking they were good. So I think they'll beat Sanford by double digits. I think 7.5 is a steal.
Will betting on Kansas in March. How the turntables turn for all of you guys listening out there.
7.5 is insane. That line has to be they don't think Kevin McCullough or Hunter Dickinson are playing. There's no way it wouldn't be more.
Sanford's only lost 5 games all year. They're almost a 30-win team. So while I see your point, I just love pointing out that you're backtracking a little bit with that.
No, I acknowledge what I was saying. I think they're gonna lose in around a 32.
Fair enough.
But I think they'll beat Sanford by double digits.
I have no feel on Kansas, Sanford. Just as with all the injury concerns, you just don't know what you're getting. Kansas has shown the ability to either blow teams out or just get blown out. It seems like every time I turn on the TV, it's never a competitive game with Kansas. But it's in Salt Lake City. It's very close to home for no, it's not very close to home. It's closer to Kansas than Sanford, so we'll see. My lock is South Carolina money line. I think that they're in a pick'em right now with Oregon, and I don't understand. I get that Oregon made a run in the Pac-12 tournament, but you got to remember it's a team that was fighting to make the tournament in the first place. South Carolina, I think it's overlooked.
They wouldn't have.
Well, yeah, they wouldn't have. South Carolina
I'm agreeing with you.
It's overlooked that South Carolina has played so well to this point in the season. They've continually beaten quality competition in the SEC. They're a team that nobody thought would be good. Having them as a 6th seed seems a little bit – I think they're a very, very good 6th seed, and I think that they'll take care of business against Oregon. And it's happening in Pittsburgh, so it's not like they're flying across the country to play them either.
With the year Lamont Paris just had as a coach, definitely going to win an SEC Coach of the Year, probably National Coach of the Year. It feels like they get out of the first round against an Oregon team who wouldn't have gotten a bid if they hadn't won the Pac-12 tournament.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Moving on, first round upset. And this was a weird one just because I feel like I'm picking all the hot teams right now that people are talking about as upset alerts. But McNeese being a 30-win team, playing Gonzaga. Gonzaga has played in what I would call it a down year for their conference, where they ended up not even winning the regular season conference like they usually do. St. Mary's ended up taking it. I know Gonzaga still has Nimhard and everything, but it just seems like they aren't as dominant as years past. And it's funny that the roles are reversed now that Gonzaga is not the Cinderella team, and they're trying to fend off the Cinderella team. I think that it's just too good of a story. I think McNeese will end up pulling this one out.
Yeah, my upset, I hate it so much, but I'm going to go with Virginia over Texas. And the only reason I feel like Texas has those games sometimes where they just drop a dud, and against a stifling defense like Virginia's, you can't have that. Virginia obviously could lose to Colorado State, and then this is pointless. I don't know. I just think Virginia's maybe going to rip off a couple wins this week, which I kind of hope happens because then Tennessee will get Virginia and not Texas. I really as a Vol fan, I really don't want to play Texas in the round of 32. I'd much rather play Virginia. So maybe a little emotional pick there, but just because I know I'm an idiot and I think Virginia is terrible, I think if Virginia beats Colorado State, then I'll probably bet them against Texas.
I understand that I'm an idiot too, but Virginia is just so bad, and I think that that's so apparent for even people that like us with half a brain cell. I hate it.
But they make other teams bad too.
They do. They really do. And
yeah.
This is a game that I hope Virginia wins, like you said, as a Vol fan, but I don't want to watch. But I will watch anyways because it's March. But golly, Virginia's tough to watch. They're bad. Anything can happen, though. I mean, I don't necessarily dislike it. Texas has underperformed all season, so hopefully so. But give me your sleeper team in the Midwest.
Yeah, I know you were just talking about how you think McNeese is going to beat Gonzaga, but I wouldn't be shocked if Gonzaga goes on a little run. I think not being a 1 seed Final Four or bust team this year, it's really just going to let them, play loose. I mean, they have some great wins. Obviously, beating St. Mary's, beating Kentucky at Kentucky. I mean, I think they can play with anybody in the country, and this year they're just going to go let it all hang out. I feel like when you're a 1 seed, kind of like the position that Purdue and Houston are in this year, and obviously UConn, where you've been so good all year and it's Final Four bust. You don't really play as well as you could, and just kind of as a sneaky 5 seed that some people have, losing in the first round. I just it wouldn't surprise me at all to see Gonzaga make it to even the Elite Eight.
I really don't hate that. If they do end up winning against McNeese, I think Gonzaga is built for a little bit of a run. I think it's really interesting whenever teams lose their best player. Sometimes they get better, and they lost Drew Timme last year, and I'm not saying that they're better or worse, but they could definitely make a run without those that weighted for pressure on them. So I think it goes without saying I was super high on South Carolina and their pick'em game in the round of 64. I think that they're a sleeper team, successful they've been and down the stretch in the SEC. They've just constantly overperformed, as you were giving high praise to their coaching staff. I just think that they could beat anybody, and they play so well together. I just think that they can make a run in March. They're just a team they're built for that underdog role, and I love it. So I'll be on South Carolina's side the majority of March.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm excited to watch South Carolina. I think that South Carolina-Oregon game is the one I'm most excited to watch. I don't know if it's that's a Thursday at noon game. I bet on that one. I was honestly surprised to see how close the line was. I took South Carolina. But yeah, when I saw the line, I was expecting it to be South Carolina to be a 5 or 6 point favorite. And then when it was basically a pick 'em, I was like, oh, Vegas thinks this is going to be a close game. Now I'm excited to watch it. So kind of feels like a rat line. Kind of made me want to bet on Oregon, but I didn't. Trusted South Carolina, who's been good all year. Got the best of us once as Tennessee fans. Have a lot of respect for that squad. I'm excited to kick off the tournament with South Carolina, Oregon.
Yeah. I think my must-watch game is Kansas versus Samford, just because I have so many questions as far as what Kansas is going to look like, how are they going to mesh with all of the injuries that they've had and all the time that they've missed. But, I mean, if they do have everybody healthy for that game, it would be probably one of the most rested teams in the tournament because you have a lot of guys taking games off down the stretch, and it would be interesting to see how all that pans out. And if Samford pulls it off, I think it'll be cool to see that and how it happens and see what we can expect from Samford down the stretch as well. So we'll see.
Absolutely. All right. Who is your pick to win the Midwest?
I say this as I'm painting my face with clown makeup, but give me the Vols to win the Midwest. And I say this only because they're coming off of 2 tough losses. They had a lot of high expectations going into the SEC tournament. Dalton Connect has played outstanding up to this point, and if you look at Tennessee, they're a team that's built for March. They have a star player. They can pour it in from anywhere that they're on the court. They rebound well. They play great defense. Senior team, and they have a coach that has been around for longer than we've been living. So give me the Vols. I will gladly put my clown shoes on whenever we end up losing to some nobody. But I think that they're built for it. This is the best team since Grant Williams' team. So
yeah, I'm with you. Just to say something without echoing you, I agree with everything you just said. I think Tennessee has a really good shot to win this region. Obviously, Purdue does with the best player in the tournament, shooting those unbearable hook shots and being officiated horrendously. I just really think, like people say it about Tennessee as well, but I just really think Purdue's going to find a way to lose one. So, I mean, if I'm going to take anybody besides Tennessee, it'd probably be Creighton. But yeah, my official Midwest region pick is not Purdue.
Not Purdue.
Is that fair? Someone other than Purdue, the field. All right. So we've gotten through all our Final Fours. Do you have a national champion prediction?
So right now I have the Vols, Arizona, UConn, and Marquette in my Final Four. Of those four, I think Tennessee matches up extremely well against Marquette. I think if the Vols were to get to the Final Four, I think they beat Marquette. As we've stated multiple times, I think Arizona are some frauds. So give me UConn beating Tennessee in the national championship to repeat for the first time since 06-07. Give me the Huskies.
All right, so I'll go with you put UConn and Tennessee in, so I won't. I'll say Illinois up in the East, Duke in the South, Arizona in the West, and Creighton in the Midwest. So let's go with I think Arizona beats Illinois. I think Arizona plays in the national championship. And I think Arizona beats Duke in the national championship. That's the most fun Final Four you're going to hear. 0-1 seeds. Arizona, Illinois, Duke, Creighton. If that happens, I officially no ball. But honestly, I truly do see the paths for each of those teams. I mean, it's going to be tough if Creighton has to go through Tennessee and Purdue. I mean, that's going to be tough. But if Gonzaga knocks off Purdue and I don't know, Texas knocks off Tennessee, I just see the path for some of those squads, and didn't want to be boring.
I was boring,
so we'll go with the Wildcats winning the Natty in Phoenix.
All right. Well, that wraps up our show for tonight. Looking forward to all these games and getting back here next week to wrap it all up. But enjoy the games, and we'll sign off for the beginning of March.